Let me say right here at the top that I am a fan of Michelle Wolf's. First of all, for her correspondence dinner speech from 2018. It was an indescribably great moment. The references are dated now, of course, but do go back and give it a watch. Clearly, things are going well for her, and I think it's well-deserved success. Regardless, I'm glad that she's back with another special. It's on Netflix. Go watch the episodes before you watch this so you can experience them as intended from the artist to you. Now, the first thing to note is that this is a special shot in a number of locations, financed by Wolf herself, and broken up into 3 episodes, roughly each 20 to 35 minutes in length. In an interview with Hollywood Reporter, Wolf said she wanted to try something different. And it sounds like she might have been able to get the money to finance a new hour, like Joke Show or Nice Lady, but if she had gone that route, she might not have had the creative control to do something new with the episode format. Now, this amounts to a fairly pricey gamble on her part, though it's hard to know exactly what she spent. There's also a reference to her team in the interview, so maybe she's got somebody that she works with to get material on film regularly. In terms of distribution, it sounds like she was thinking, well, if no one buys it, I'll just throw it up on YouTube. Now, a lot of other comedians have done the same thing recently, and she says as much. I wonder if she's thinking of these episode-style chunks as a way to bridge the gap between producing a whole hour and attracting an audience that's used to TikTok or Reel-type content that's extremely short. She says that she filmed quite a few, like 8 chunks, but they got smashed together into these 20-minute-plus episodes. Now, I know that streamers often demand a certain episode minimum length. I've run into that with a couple of projects. Although, I don't know for sure if Netflix did that in this case, or if so, why. Whatever the case, we got 3 episodes of comedy, possibly more to come. Let's get into it. What can we learn technically from this special? Now, although I'm gonna complain in a bit about a particular joke, I think the big takeaways here are material and pacing. She's done a great job of keeping the crowd simmering with good jokes, very little fluff, and well-timed pauses that give the audience the room to laugh while still making it seem like an ongoing conversation. As you're watching, look for the intensity, for lack of a better word, going up and then backing off again, up again, then backing off again. You know, the audience does seem extremely receptive, which might be how they ended up being the performance she used, you know, for the first episode, but you can see her getting laughs and then letting the crowd settle and then going back at them with another chunk, letting them settle again. Now, again, I've seen her live and I laughed my ass off, so it's a real thing. She's hilarious. Okay, let's dig in at the joke level a bit. The special's intro is about 30 seconds long. They're not making us wait. I appreciate that brevity. So, first episode, first joke, and it's about people in Barcelona pronouncing the word with a lisp because they're gay.
It's a beach city, but it's also a bit of a gay city. I think that's why they have the lisp. Barcelona.
Now, again, I am a Michelle Wolf fan, but this one was not for me. I feel like lisping gays is one of those cliches that we can kind of leave behind. Blazing Saddles came out in 1974.
Have you got it? Yes. Sounds like steam escaping.
Now from there, we get into some material about nude beaches and penises not being great to look at, fairly standard stuff. Then we get into a joke about her friend taking off her shirt at the nude beach. Her friend has fake boobs and gets mad at Michelle for calling her fake boobs fake. That's how we end up at this moment.
And then she got mad at me because I called them fake boobs. And I was like, well, they're not real. Like if your friend got breast implants, would you call them real? Would you? Okay, good. So we're all a little transphobic.
Et tu, Wolfe? I don't understand why trans people aren't allowed to just go about their lives without someone pointing out they're different. Now, I get it that it gets laughs, and this moment definitely gets a big laugh, but if that's the only reason for bringing something up, I think that's beneath someone as good as Michelle Wolf. In interviews about the special, she says, paraphrasing here, "I don't have an agenda, I'm just being me." And for most of the material, that appears to me to be true. But on this one, why take up a subject like this alongside people who definitely do have agendas? If you see a crowd of people throwing rocks at someone and you throw one too, I think it's an absurd defense to say later on, hey, I don't have an agenda, I just love throwing. Later on in the second episode, trans people come up again. But that time, I think the point of the joke is more easily understood as being welcoming but still funny. This one, though, I found hard to swallow. This joke is the first big laugh of the special, and it's within the first few minutes overall, so it's not like Wolf doesn't want us to hear it. Having said that, knowing that I personally am basically a walking stack of blind spots, if I squint, I can also envision a world where this joke is about those blind spots. Maybe it's about how easy it is to say you're not transphobic, but then behave in real life in a certain situation in a way that makes a real trans person feel otherized. I can see an argument where someone would point to the punchline, "So we're all a little transphobic," and say, this was a piece specifically engineered to trap people into recognizing that it's easy to be figuratively virtuous, particularly online or in groups, and then literally step on a rake in real life. But going back to the original wording of the joke, if a friend got fake boobs and didn't want anyone to call them fake boobs, would you say they were real? Well, I probably wouldn't talk about them at all. But if I had to, yeah, I would try to behave in a way so my friend would be happy. I have real life family members who real life refuse to use trans family members' names. That's what comes to mind for me. Who is it hurting to address people the way they want to be addressed? Now, I know it's just a joke, but as much as I hate to say it, at this point in the special, I feel like we're seeing Michelle Wolf responding to the great rightward political shift of comedy. It's like she wanted to have this joke up front so she can continue to be welcome in the Red Pill podcast universe. Those guys aren't going to watch all 3 episodes. Just give trans people a bit of a kicking right up front so the ivermectin bros can see it, and then you can spend the rest of the episodes having no agenda, but still get booked on their podcast, and maybe their fans will show up out on the road. If that's what's happening, it will be clear when we see the same phenomenon in other people's specials. I think the ivermectin set have damaged comedy, possibly irreparably, to enrich themselves. If it's necessary to pander to them in order to have a career in comedy, I think that's a big problem. Or this might just be something Wolf herself fully believes, that it's okay to dead name or refuse to recognize a trans person's new life. She splits hairs a bit by saying,
You know, they're fake on a woman. They're fake on a woman.
which I think is a gesture at including trans people in womanhood while still getting to have the boobs joke. But the boobs joke, I think, is about recognizing someone's preferences. I think as a walk back, that rings a bit hollow. I would have been much happier had this one been cut. From there, we get into a few minutes on gay and lesbian couples. The next piece I found remarkable was when Wolf is talking about how great it would be to be a lesbian because you get to be a wife, but you also get a wife.
I want to be a wife, but I don't get a wife. I get a husband. And what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do in this almost equal society we fought so hard for? What, protect me? From who? He's the guy most likely to kill me.
A big laugh here, and well deserved. It is weird that men often have a fantasy about themselves as great protectors, and yet most abuse is done to women by their male partners. You know, maybe if we really wanted to be big, strong, white knight good boys, we'd stop buying laser dots for custom Glocks and just go to therapy. Here's another good one.
I learned that apparently I'm a nurturer. Despite any of my wishes.
I think we all know that feeling, those of us who've gotten a little older anyway. We imagine a future for ourselves when we're young, but the reality of getting a little older reveals itself to make us want things we never thought we would. So, conclusion. There's a lot of great stuff in here. I like the material about what it would be like to break up with a blind person. The chunk that wraps up the first episode is funny. The second episode is more what I expected from Michelle Wolf. It's yet another example of masterful pacing, and the material is even better than episode 1, in my opinion. The whole thing is definitely worth a watch. Of course, you should make your own judgments. I'm not sure that I understood why we needed the joke that I spoke about before, but the rest of the episodes 1 and 2 were really good. There is a lot to learn about craft here from Michelle Wolf. She is undeniably a pro. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and maybe jump on the Patreon if you want to support. I'd love to have you. And if you want to talk about comedy with people who are trying to do it in a constructive way, we also have a Discord channel.